Hi and thanks for watching. Today I'm going to make a small bowl and I'm going to use a gilding cream or gilt cream to detail it and add some colour. Let's see how we get on. So a key part of this project is going to be choosing the right wood, because what we're trying to do is show off the grain character as best we can. So what you want is something that's got really open grain. I've got a nice bit of oak right there, it's quite a big piece, and also a piece of elm down there. Either of those woods would be really good for that. This time I'm going to pick this wood here. Don't actually know what it is, unfortunately, off eBay. It wasn't labelled to what it is. So any ideas, let me know, but this should work really well for this piece. So I've kind of got the basic shape of this bowl. I'm starting to just refine some of it now. I think it is kiln dried, so it's coming off quite dry. It is going to be interesting to see how this comes up once it's sanded, because one thing about doing this colouring and gilt creaming is it is supposed to be sanded down so there's absolutely no imperfections, and that's looking a little bit moody at the minute. I'm going to do some refining, some shearing cuts, see if I can get that to a bit of a better finish. The next few stages I'm going to use this liming brush from Liberon, which should bring out some nice grain detail a bit more to allow the gilt cream to settle into those gaps. And then after that I'm going to apply a little bit of Hampshire Sheen intrinsic colour black. Here I apply a couple of coats of Chestnut sanding sealer with a spray, which I think gives a bit more of an even coat, and then denib it back with some wire wool. Well, I've a few different ones here. I have this Liberon Saint-Germain,
as the French would say.
Or, alternately, I think I'll try this one, which is Versailles, and it's that sort of finish, so it's a little bit bronzy. From memory last time, this stuff is pretty good, and the instructions do say a little goes a long way, so you don't need loads on it. Let's see if we can get this into the cracks. This is one of these techniques that could well split opinion around how to treat wood, and there's a lot of purists out there that just think do as little with it as possible, or just let the wood come through. But one of the reasons for doing this little project is because I just think it's a great way of showing off the wood, really showing and emphasising the grain pattern coming through. And then I'm going to let that go off for 10 to 20 minutes, just let it soak into the grain a bit. So the next stage here is to get a bit of this Hampshire Sheen, in my case Danish Oil, and I'm just going to put a little bit on a paper towel, not too much, just lightly sort of dampen it. I think just start off with small amounts. Check the article out for more advice on these few steps, because they are quite key. But the phase here is to try and remove some of this surface gilt cream across the top to reveal the black underneath. Well, it's hollowing out okay-ish, but this stuff, it's not coming off in shavings, it's coming out in dust.
Dust!
fine as you like.
Here I'm just taking a few passes with the negative rake scraper lightly to try and clean up some of the end grain fibres.
The grain is looking good, which is the whole point of this piece, so let's get it sanded down. Right, I have got that down to 320. I'm not going to go any further than that. I don't think I need to for this. Devalt sander in the end, just to get it on there, and did quite a bit of hand sanding around the end grain bits to really try and get rid of it quite aggressively, which kind of worked.
Here I'm using the same steps I did first, which is using the liming brush to pull out some of the grain, and then giving a good couple of coats of black Hampshire sheen before denibbing with some wire wool, and then adding in, or a couple of coats I should say, of cellulose sealer, again chestnut stuff, before adding a bit more gilt cream and letting that go off.
So give that 15-20 minutes to set in a little bit, and we'll come back to that and apply some Danish oil.
So I finished this piece with a couple of coats of Danish oil and left it 24 hours, sort of left it overnight to go off basically to cure. And then I finished it up here on the buffing wheel with a bit of buffing compound, just gripping the piece quite tightly, making sure it doesn't fly off around the workshop anywhere. And also just being careful when you do the edges here, just don't let the buffing wheel grab the piece. It can be very grabby, so just be careful where you're putting it. Light, sort of regular applications of the buffing compound is what I've read is best for this. What do we think?
I do sense this particular finish will divide opinion really as to what the best way is. As I said before, there are quite a lot of people out there who just want to keep wood really as pure as possible, but I'm not one of them. I think it's a really interesting effect and really shows off the grain. I didn't actually follow my own advice correctly, really, and didn't quite get the finish I wanted, A, off the tool, or B, from the sanding. I haven't seen loads of videos using gilt creams. The plan I was following for this project was actually from a magazine article. I think it was the Woodworking Institute. I'll put a link below to that, so in case you want to follow it again a bit more methodically, with a bit more detail in there. Big thank you to those who've subscribed to my channel, really appreciate it, and those who left comments, please do so again. In particular, shout out to Rick from Woodturns across the pond, who did a shout out for me on one of his sort of monthly reviews of woodworking and wood turning. So cheers Rick, thanks for your support. I will be making some more videos with just wood, where I won't colour it, promise, and also some other things with resin, and thanks for watching.